Chapter 72, Cultivation isn't tiring when in a pair. Only places with powerful backgrounds like the New Moon brothel could maintain a semblance of peace. It was like a different world here than from the chaotic world outside. In Liu Ruxu's room, her entire face was rosy. Cold spiritual energy circulated around her body. After condensing, it turned into a waxing moon that slowly rose and stopped in front of her flawless face. The bright white light radiated was as pure and cold as the moonlight. This was very rare for people with ice spiritual roots. This kind of spiritual root often emitted cold air, just like ice. However, her spiritual power was both yin and yang. Her spiritual energy was like the moonlight, making her look whole and noble, like a fairy cultivating in the Guanyin Taos. Sanchi stared at Liu Ruxu, who looked like a flawless jade sculpture. He felt that Liu Ruxu was like a piece of art. He could not help but keep looking at her and could not bear to break the silence that surrounded them. After the waxing moon floated, Liu Ruxu's aura suddenly soared. A circle of cold wind spread, and her black hair fluttered in the wind. She looked even more extraordinary, as if she was about to fly into the sky. Congratulations, you're at the 7th level of Qi refinement. Moreover, your spiritual energy, so pure, it's probably comparable to the 9th level of Qi refinement. Sanchi returned to his senses and said with a smile. The redness on Liu Ruxu's face turned white. Her long eyelashes fluttered and she opened her eyes. Her eyes were like the bright moon. As the white light faded, she revealed a happy expression. Without young master helping me cultivate, Zur will probably need at least a year or two to reach this step. Her voice was cold and gentle. She stood up and gently jumped out. Like a fairy running towards the moon, she landed lightly in Sanchi's arms. Lying on Sanchi's chest, Liu Ruxu listened to Sanchi's heartbeat and commented, "Young master's cultivation is so strong. Even if Zur has reached the late stage of Qi refinement, I still feel that young master is like a sun. In the sun and you're the moon. Isn't that just perfect for you to cultivate the Yao Moon Palace's sun-moon brilliance art?" Sanchi kissed Liu Ruxu and stroked her soft hair. Only inner sect disciples are qualified to cultivate that skill. However, Zur will work hard and become an inner sect disciple as soon as possible. Liu Ruxu smiled and said seductively, "From now on, we can use the same cultivation method. You don't have to waste your energy on me anymore." With difference, Sanchi was interested. When we cultivate the same cultivation technique, not only can we cultivate together, but the fire in young master's body and the cold air in my body will constantly combine. It can resolve the flaw of Zur's physique being too cold and young master's strength being too masculine. Liu Ruxu blushed and said, "This outcome is harder to obtain in other cultivation methods. Now that you mention it, I have become extremely interested." Sanchi's eyes lit up. His biggest headache now was that the power in his body was too masculine when he practiced cultivation techniques. He had to rely on water to cool himself down or ask Liu Ruxu to help him. Now that the two of them could cultivate together, there was basically no problem with his cultivation for the time being. "Come on, let's try it." Sanchi was in high spirits. He carried Liu Ruxu and jumped onto the bed. This secret technique is called the Yin-Yang secret technique. This is how you cultivate it. Liu Ruxu leaned against Sanchi's ear and whispered the cultivation method to him. After memorizing it, the two of them sat opposite each other and circulated their cultivation methods at the same time. Liu Ruxu's entire body shone brightly and a cold aura filled the air. A waxing moon appeared and, under the dazzling light, it turned into a jade figure. But in the next moment, the moonlight was covered by scorching flames. A fireball that resembled a sun appeared on Sanchi's abdomen and hands. It was far more domineering than the strength of the waxing moon. Not only were there these for spiritual energy sources, there was also a faint fireball in the center of Sanchi's right foot. However, it had not been completely lit up. This was because Sanchi had not completely opened up the acupuncture points here. Liu Ruxu widened her eyes and said, in a daze, "Young master, your cultivation technique looks so powerful. Is this from the yang refining technique I gave you? I'm also cultivating your cultivation method. Right now, the one that is causing the Four Suns phenomenon is a martial arts cultivation method. It's quite average in power," Sanchi said humbly. "Young master, you must be joking. Normal martial arts cultivation techniques can't cultivate such phenomenons. Liu Ruxu was smart and didn't ask further. She smiled and said, "Young master, it's about to begin. Use the Yan cultivation technique." This cultivation technique is a complementing set with the Moon invitation skill. It can work perfectly with the Yin-Yan secret technique. Alright, then I'll use the circulation route of the Yan refining technique to connect with you. San Shi nodded. "Oh, young master, your cultivation level is much higher than mine. You have to control your strength. My cultivation level is low and I can't withstand too much power." Liu Ruxu smiled playfully. "Yes, I know my limits." With a thought from San Shi, he circulated the Yan refinement technique. A portion of his power was transferred to Liu Ruxu through the corresponding meridians. The latter also released her spiritual power and slowly transferred it to San Shi. Suddenly, Liu Ruxu's face glowed and emitted a pale red light. She looked even more radiant and beautiful. Cold moonlight also appeared on San Shi's body, and the power of his extreme Yan became gentler. Between the two of them, red and white light circulated and echoed according to the same fluctuation, secretly conforming to the yin-yang Tao of heaven and earth. The two of them trembled. A powerful force surged into their minds, causing them to lose control of their strength. Luckily, San Shi, who had a stronger spiritual sense, reacted immediately. He shouted at the dazed Liu Ruxu, "Be careful, don't be distracted. We're still cultivating." He wasn't afraid of losing control of his strength or worse, chi deviation. But Liu Ruxu couldn't afford these slip-ups. Liu Ruxu's body trembled and she regained some clarity. She said fearfully, "Zur was careless. This cultivation method is indeed very special. It's much faster than cultivating alone." San Shi sighed in amazement. This method was really able to resolve the shortcomings of his cultivation technique. When he cultivated alone, the extreme Yan power in his body was too strong. He could not circulate it too quickly or his body would not be able to withstand it. Not only was this perfectly resolved through this dual cultivation method, he could also cultivate faster. After experiencing this, he started feeling disdainful towards cultivating alone. As the power circulated, the both of them became more proficient in the cultivation of the yin-yang secret technique, and a huge yin-yang diagram between the two of them was formed. The red and white light made the entire room shine. Suddenly, both of them could absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. The effect of the two of them was much greater than if San Shi cultivated double the time he was doing right now. As they cultivated, a large amount of spiritual chi surged over. The duo's cultivation speed was far faster than normal. The more San Shi cultivated, the more shocked he became. He roughly understood the principle of this cultivation technique. It was an extra external circulation that happened outside the two cultivation techniques, forming a new cultivation technique. The person who created these cultivation techniques must have been extremely talented. How did he manage to think of this? As expected, it's not as tiring when cultivating as a man with a woman. He thought happily as he crossed his hands with Liu Ruxu and entered the next stage of cultivation. Buzzbews. Thivo Shokan, the original yin-yang image, turned into a ball of light that enveloped the two of them, causing an even more shocking phenomenon. With Liu Ruxu's help, San Shi's cultivation level increased much faster. Not long after, with a bang, the new energy core in his right foot was broken through by the true energy, his entire body. He successfully opened the acupuncture point, and his martial arts cultivation advanced another step.